Well, India at the United Nations has reaffirmed its stance of dialogue and diplomacy as the way forward to end the conflict in Ukraine. Permanent representative of India to the United Nations, P. Harish, in a statement at the UNGA said that New Delhi stands ready to support diplomatic efforts for an early end to the conflict, which is in the interest of everyone.
Situation in Ukraine. We maintain that the loss of innocent lives is unacceptable and no solution can be found on the battlefield. India has consistently advocated that the path of dialogue and diplomacy is the only way forward to end the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, no matter how insurmountable such a course may appear. The wholehearted participation and commitment of all stakeholders are critical for lasting peace. Mr. President, India welcomes recent positive developments in this direction. We endorse the summit meeting in Alaska between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. We appreciate the progress made at the Alaska summit. We also note the subsequent diplomatic efforts by the US President in engaging with Ukrainian President and European leaders in Washington, D.C. Prime Minister Narendra Modi remains in touch with President Putin, President Zelensky, and European leadership on the evolving situation. We believe all these diplomatic efforts hold the promise of bringing to an end the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and opening up prospects for a lasting peace.
US President Donald Trump, meanwhile, said on Thursday that he would speak soon with Russia's Vladimir Putin after his call earlier in the day with Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky and the European leaders. Talking to the reporters on the sidelines of a dinner with prominent US tech executives at the White House, Trump said he and Putin are having very good dialogue and he will speak with the Kremlin leader in the near future. And to get you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Akshay Dongre from New Delhi. Good morning, Akshay. Well, the latest statement from a Ukrainian official says that Ukraine relies on India's authoritative voice. At the United Nations too, India once again reaffirmed that dialogue and diplomacy is the only way forward. And Trump, on the other hand, is also putting his best foot forward to make peace. How do you see, Akshay, India's involvement and position in the very key Russia-Ukraine crisis?
Well, Deepika, as far as the statement by India is concerned, clearly we have been on the side of dialogue and diplomacy, and it seems that the world is also realizing that what India has been saying from the very beginning is the only solution to come out of this war. You know, you have the entire Western bloc at one side and Russia at the other, supported by countries like China and North Korea, and the kind of communication that has been coming in from West has not only been condescending towards countries like Russia and even India, for that matter, that has been a very close ally of the West for decades now. So the situation has been complicated by the West, and now Ukraine, that has perhaps suffered the most amount of casualties as far as this war is concerned, is also siding with India. In fact, being quite vocal, stating that it needs the support of India and its authoritative voice to deal with the crisis that's going on, to deal with the loss of lives that has been going on. So the situation seems to be tilting the same way where India had, predicted it to be. India had suggested it to be for years now, and it's not just the Russia-Ukraine conflict. India has said the same thing for the other conflicts that are going on. So, force cannot force, as far as if you respond to force with force, there is only going to be chaos and destruction. So that is one thing that has been made aptly clear through this conflict. So the situation remains complicated, and it seems that now slowly, be it the peace talks or the dialogues that are taking place at the highest level between the US and Russia are only going towards diplomacy and dialogue, and no amount of force is going to bring any kind of peaceful solution to the conflict.
And also, on the other hand, European Union has amped up its support, and US can sense this building pressure as well. But would that anywhere mean all three parties coming together for a peace agreement sometime?
Well, it seems like it, and it seems like more than the three parties, the European Union now, is in a mood that it wants to do things on its own, because the highest stakes that are involved is for the European Union, besides Ukraine and Russia. they are a part of the same continent. The conflict has been majorly supported by the European nations as far as aid is concerned, weaponry is concerned. So those countries are also in a situation of flux where on one side they are spending money like water. On the other side, the situation is demanding more and more blood from the soldiers of not only Ukraine and Russia, but also at a point in time it will if it escalates, it is going to take the entire continent in its garb. So the situation is bad. But as far as the peace talks are concerned, there have been claims of providing some sort of guarantee to Ukraine, but if that is the chatter of the town, it seems that there will be some sort of concessions that will have to be made by the Ukrainian side on the territory front, especially when it comes to Donbass and Crimea region, because otherwise it doesn't seem possible that Russia is going to allow any kind of Western troops in Ukraine, because it is going to be the same repeat of the Ukrainian ambitions of joining NATO forces.
All right. Thank you so much, Akshay, for joining us and bringing us the latest.